Okay. Y'all got anything?
So how does, Tennessee, I feel like most people are going to be picking Tennessee this weekend. Yeah. How does South Carolina kind of benefit from, being counted out this weekend?
All right, so I'm old, right? And I went to Tennessee. And so I was a student at Tennessee when Tennessee rolled in here in 1992 with a chance to win a national championship. I think they got a Heisman Trophy contender in Heath Schuler, and it was on Halloween. And they were shooting the movie The Program, and South Carolina stunned them, shocked them. And that was a bad South Carolina team. This was, God bless them, this was the Sparky Woods era, right? And so it was, the point is, past is prologue. So be careful, because Tennessee has done a really good job this year of, Josh Heupel keeps saying, be where your cleats are. So they've done a really good job of focusing on the game that's right in front of them and not worrying about the playoff or SEC championship or whatever else. And so, but South Carolina has been in this position so many times. I was at that Georgia game, what 3 years ago? And so, yeah, it's South Carolina knows how to win these games.
So do you feel like it could be a trap game almost? Or?
100%. It feels like a trap game. Because there's no way, watch ESPN. Everything is about Tennessee at 5. What has to happen? Hey, Michigan or Ohio State, one of them is going to lose. So Tennessee could be in the top 4 immediately, and they were number 1 and all that stuff. So no one's talking about this game, and that is the definition of a trap game.
You spoke about Williams-Brice being a great atmosphere. Do you think the stadium and the fans play any factor?
100%. I've said, I graduated high school in Travelers Rest before Greenville was cool. Greenville's awesome now. But I graduated high school at Travelers Rest, and my father was a college football official. So I've been coming to games at Williams-Brice since I was, pre-teen. And I've always believed this is the most underrated atmosphere in college football. People who, they talk about kneeling or they talk about, whatever else, and then they come here, and people that have never been here, the people that come all the time, they know. But the people that have never been here are always shocked. And so, yeah, no, the atmosphere is super important. Look at what Georgia did. Georgia is not historically considered a loud stadium. And when they had Tennessee in a couple weeks ago, Kirby Smart was like, it has to be loud. And Tennessee had so many pre-snap penalties because it was so loud. That's how the only way to slow down a Tennessee offense is to keep it confused. And the best way to keep it confused is to make it as loud as you can make it.
Sure. Say the Gamecocks don't win Saturday or against Clemson. How would people view this season after all the hype with Spencer Rattler coming in?
I still think South Carolina's ahead of schedule. They're going to go to a bowl game. They're going to go to a bowl game 2 years in a row. What they did a year ago was shocking, and especially considering the quarterback situation. And they kept winning games. They won a couple games they weren't supposed to win, and they played in the bowl game and won the bowl game. And the coach was concussed by mayonnaise. We all know that stuff. But it was an amazing year. It was also kind of a curse because it set a bar for year 2 that maybe was almost a little unreasonable, because people forget the reconstruction job that this has been and will continue to be. But if I'd come to you as a South Carolina fan 2 years ago and said back-to-back bowl games and a couple of upset wins, you would have taken that immediately. So yeah, I would say just hang on. It's going to be fun.
And as a South Carolinian, we're spoken about Jalen Hyatt being from Dutch Fork, actually at Tennessee. Do you think now for high school players in South Carolina coming here to Columbia and playing for Shane Beamer is a much more attractive prospect?
Shane Beamer's a great football coach, and obviously we know his lineage, we know about his dad, we know the staffs that he's been on, but above all else, he is a monster recruiter, and he owns Rock Hill. They literally gave him the key to the city in Rock Hill. So Davian Clowney and all those guys that when during the Spurrier Glory days, a lot of those guys, most of those guys were signed by Shane Beamer. And so yeah, I think that the message was already loud and clear, but when the home team is good, your mama wants you to stay home, and so that's what a lot of guys will start doing.
So one of the biggest storylines of this week is the return of Jalen Hyatt to Columbia. We covered him at Dutch Fork High School here. Yeah. We know his history with the Gamecocks. Are you expecting a big game from Jalen tomorrow night?
I expect a big game from Jalen every week, and even in the beginning when we knew he was pretty good, but no one expected the season that he's had. My friends who are beat writers for Tennessee, and I think they're right for doing so, we all agree that Hendon Hooker is going to be a Heisman finalist, but his receiver's pretty good, and I think that in another year, Jalen's the guy we would have talked about as a Heisman candidate. He's not a quarterback, so unfortunately these days it's hard to win a Heisman if you're not, but he is, I expect a great game out of him every week, but particularly when he's at home.
And also the South Carolina offense has been a storyline every single week. Is it possible that they can get something going in week 11?
I think so. I believe, and I talked to Josh Heupel about this earlier in the week, head coach of Tennessee. You know, he's an offensive-minded guy, but he called himself a special teams junkie. And he has said he has enjoyed but also been terrified by watching South Carolina special teams play on tape. We all know about Beamer ball, and this is Beamer ball next generation. All those block kicks this year. I think it's second in the nation, block kicks. And then you go back to, even though it wasn't a close game last year, the play that got South Carolina back in the game was that 44, 45-yard touchdown pass off a fake punt. So the special teams are the equalizer. So if the offense can just get a little bit of traction, I would be really shocked if special teams didn't have a couple of huge plays to help them.
Who do you feel like has to be the X factor for South Carolina on offense?
I mean, Spencer Rattler. I mean, I covered him. I don't cover recruiting, except for back when we used to have the one signing day. And I covered Spencer Rattler as a high school student, and I covered him at Oklahoma. And so I know what he's capable of. I was a sideline reporter, running around for the spring game, back in April. We all saw flashes of it in the first half. So we're all waiting on it to click. And if there was ever a stage to do it, it would be prime time on Saturday night. So, I mean, Rattler's the X factor. He's just the X factor we've all been waiting on all year.
You're talking about game time environment. Have you thought about going and check out some tailgates tomorrow?
Oh, no, I'm totally going to do it.
Yeah.
All right, so my daughter hopefully is not going to watch any of this. We live in Charlotte. She's a high school senior, and I'm bringing her tomorrow, and I'm taking her to the game. And so we're going to do all the tailgates, and we're going to do the cockabooses, and we're going to do 2001 and Sandstorm. And I'm doing it. Honestly, I've always loved the school. I almost went here myself, and she loved it when she took the tour. And so that's a really long way of saying yes. And so if you have watched SEC Nation this year, I have become like the tailgate guy. I've tailgated on boats. I've tailgated all the stuff. And we're going to go down to the Cockabooses for SEC Nation on Saturday. And I've never had so many adult beverages before 10 a.m. in my life than I have this year. And so I usually end up doing the last hour of the show drinking coffee.
I don't know if you were planning on it. If you want the real student experience, try and get in the frat lots.
Yeah, did I tell you I was bringing my daughter? I'm not taking her to the frat lot. If I come back by myself, I'll do that. But I'm not. Yeah, I appreciate it. I will step over there, but I'm gonna let her do that on her own one day.
All right, guys. Last question.
Okay, I'm good.
Good.
Thanks, man.
All right, thank you.